Hello everyone, welcome to Handmade by Trish. It's Sunday the 25th of July and I'm coming on to do a quick video to show you how to make a waterfall card. This one in particular is the one that we're going to make. Just get the envelope out the way so that you can see the card properly. So I'm going to go through all the bits that you need and how to assemble this card. So I've used the Party Puffins stamp set, and as you pull it, it comes across the different images and you get 2 sentiments on here as well. So I'm going to show you how to do all that and how to put it together. I have done some prep beforehand so that it's to keep the video as short as I can. So I'll just go through the bits that you need. So the first bit you'll need is a card base, and I've just taken an A4 sheet of paper, cut it at 10.5 centimeters down the long length, and then scored it at 14.85 centimeters and folded it to give me my card base. Always remember, the best card base is one where you use your bone folder and just give it a nice crease so it sits nice and flat. You're then going to need a piece of basic white. This measures 10 centimeters by 14.4 centimeters, and this we're going to put on the inside of our card. The top layer of the card is a piece of designer series paper. It's from the 2021-2023 in colour collection. They're such gorgeous colours, these, and this is the pale papaya one. There are various sheets with various designs, but I really like this sort of crisscrossy design. I think it's really pretty. It's another design on the back. So that's going to be my front layer, and it's sized so that it just gives you a nice little border of the oh, by the way, this colour cardstock is Evening Evergreen, which is also one of those in colours. So that's what you're going to need for the card base. For the actual assembly part of the card, you're going to need to cut a piece of basic white at 23 centimeters long by 6 centimeters tall. You're going to need what I call the holding bar, and this is 12.3 centimeters by 2 centimeters. And that you're going to want to do in the colour that you use as your backing colour. So in my case, I've used Bermuda Bay. You're going to need 4 of these Bermuda Bay, or whatever colour you choose as your backing square. You're going to need 4 of these, and these measure 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters. You're also going to need 4 image squares. These are in the basic white, and these are 5.5 centimeters by 5.5 centimeters. Now, I've also, on some scrap basic white, I stamped out the large puffin and 3 of the fish. Now, the reason why I've cut him out and done him separate is he's actually a little bit bigger than the card base. So if I'd have stamped him straight onto this, you would have lost bits of him. So that's why I've cut him out. But with these waterfall style cards, you probably want to avoid using too many that go outside. And it's certainly okay for the top one, and maybe even the bottom one, but I would try and keep your layers sort of within their squares. So I have prepared some already. So you're basically going to take your, I always like, when I do these waterfall cards, I always like to do my 4 little picture panels first. I find it easier to get those and have them in the order I want them, and then assemble it. So I've already done some of this, and I've stamped, oh, let me show you the stamp set. Be a good idea, wouldn't it? This is the stamp set here, Party Puffins. So this is the one that I stamped, coloured and cut out. Now these 2 I've used on the inside, and this is the cake, which is the last one. So with these, you'll see they're single layer. So what I did is I stamped the puffin, I then masked it, and then I stamped the background using another stamp, which I'll just show you that. The other stamp that I used, the confetti stamp, is the confetti stamp out of the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set. And with the cake background, I'm going to use this lace one. So I've actually left these so I can show you how I did that and how I masked them off. So if you've not done masking before, and with one of these panels, you want to stamp it completely in the confetti, because that's the one that's going to have your one that you cut out on it. So we're just going to put those to one side for a second, and I'm just going to show you how to make a mask. So the puffin that I haven't stamped is, I call him the dancing puffin. I don't really know if he's dancing. I don't know what he's doing actually. So let's take this stamp off here and put the puffin on. So using your Memento Tuxedo black ink, you want to make sure your stamp is well inked. Where you've got lots of solid colour like you have in this, you really want to make sure you've got lots of black down. And it wouldn't be a bad idea actually to use a Stamparatus for this so that you could stamp over it a second time if you needed to. But I'm just going to go for the one for purposes of speed of the video. So we're just going to stamp our puffin down. And then you want to have some post-it notes. These are post-it notes that are full post-it notes. They're completely sticky apart from a little flap. So you can see I've already cut a piece out of this. So once you've stamped your puffin on your cardstock, just stamp him again on a piece of the post-it note. It doesn't need to be a really strong image. You only just want to see it enough so that you can cut it out. I'm just going to very quickly clean my stamp. So now that I've stamped him on here, I can pull this post-it note off, cut, and you want to cut right on the outside line so that when you stick it down, you actually want to see the outside line of your image. So rather than you sit and watch me stamp that, I'll apologize if you can hear my husband playing his music out in the garden. So you want to place your little post-it note that you've cut out, and you want to put it, like I say, so that you can see the lines of the one that you stamped on the card. Okay, so now that he's all covered up, using the confetti stamp from the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set, I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay ink. Now, this is quite a bright ink, so I actually stamped off. I'm using a second generation image on here, just to tone it down a little bit. And you're just going to stamp it to fill in all the background, basically. Just get that little corner there. Oops. So now that I've stamped all the background, when I peel the mask off, you'll see the puffin is all nice and clean still. So we still need to colour him, which I'll do in a minute. And we're also going to, this exactly the same thing for the cake. We're going to mask it. I'm just going to quickly clean all this ink off that stamp. So I've got the lace stamp here. Just take the puffin off. Put the lace one on. So this is the lace stamp out of the Tasteful Textures. This one here. That's it here, and we're going to use the Melon Mambo ink this time, and we're going to, I've already created a mask for the cake, so I'm going to just put my mask over the top just so that you can see the lines of the stamped image. You can see I've used it a couple of times already, and then using the Melon Mambo, is it Melon Mambo? No, not Melon Mambo, Mango Melody ink pad. I'm just going to ink that up. Okay, so now we've got enough ink on there. I'm just going to stamp that over my cake. And there you are. So now when we peel the mask off, there we've got a beautiful cake. So I just close these ink pads. Don't like to leave them open. I always end up dropping something into it. And I just clean off that stamp. Okay, so now I just need to colour in this puffin. So the nice thing with the puffins is you don't have to do too much colouring. With this one I needed obviously to colour his hat, his beak and his feet, just his beak and his feet with this one. I've used the Stamping Blends and I've used the Mango Melody colour, so the dark and the light. And the way I colour with the Stamping Blends is I cover the whole space with the light. And I'll do his beak too. And then I go in with the dark and I just put the highlights in with the dark to give it a little bit of dimensions. I'm just going to do the bottom of his feet and a bit around his beak. And then I go back in with the light. And just where I went over with the dark, I just kind of blend it into the light so you don't have any harsh lines, but it gives it a little bit of shading. So if I show you him now, so he's a little bit shaded. So he's all coloured now. This one I had done in advance, so exactly the same way. I stamped the puffin, I coloured him, I masked him and stamped the background. This one I just stamped the background. And then once you've done your white pieces, using the Stampin' Up Stampin' Seal, you just want to attach them to the Bermuda Bay backing or your coloured backing, whatever colour you've chosen. Should use my silicone mat here, and we're just going to put that. Now with the dimensions, you should just have a nice little border all the way around. And put him on here. And then with this one where we just stamped the confetti, this is where we're going to put our big puffin. I am going to prop him up on dimensionals because he's going to be on the front of the card. It's okay if he's propped up. I wouldn't really be stamping these images out and putting them on dimensionals because, as you'll see from my sample card, there's already quite a bit of height with all these layers. So you don't want to create too much more. So the front's okay though. So I'm just going to put a dimensional on his head and his body. And then just pop him on the square with just his feet and the top of his hat popping over the top and at the bottom. Using one of the fish, and I meant to do all three bows different and I did two green ones, so I'm just going to use there are mini dimensionals and I did have some and then realised I'd given them away to a teammate, so I haven't got any at the moment. So I have these strips of dimensionals and I keep these so that when I want a little piece, I do have a little one here somewhere, I can just cut a little piece off here and put that on the back of my little fish. Put those to one side. Okay, and we'll just pop him on the front there. So these are our 4 panels. With these 2 fish, I'm just going to use a bit of the multi-purpose glue and glue these on because I don't want them to be propped up because they're the last of the little panels. I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on there and stick them on at the bottom of the cake. This is just the Tombow multi-purpose glue, but I put it in a nice little fine tip bottle so it's easier for me to use, and it stops me from using too much glue as well. I find the tips on the bottles are quite thick, so you end up putting a bit too much glue on. So these are my 4 panels all ready to assemble my card, and I don't need them just yet, so I'm just going to pop them in the order that they're going to go onto my card and just put them aside for 1 second. The next thing we're going to do is the actual mechanism itself. This is what we're going to use to pull. I've just realised that I didn't get the the punch down that I'm going to need. Here it is. We are going to need this, it's called Label Me Fancy label punch, and we're going to want this little strip here. This is what we're going to feed our ribbon through, but we're just going to put that to one side because I don't need it right this moment. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the mechanism itself. So this piece of paper is the one that measures 23 centimeters by 6 centimeters, and we're going to want to score it. So if we use the scoring tool, not the cutting one, we're going to score the first mark at 6 centimeters, then again at 7 centimeters, then 8 centimeters. Sorry if the camera's shaking while I'm doing this. And then the last one at 9 centimeters. So you should be able to see it when I hold it up now. So this basically is a 6 centimeter square now, and then you've got 1 centimeter intervals, and then you've got a long strip. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold all of these score lines, and we want to burnish them down nice and firm. We want these in the end to be really free flowing, so you want to give them a good burnish. Oops. One more there. Now when you've done that, I just like to sort of give it a good wriggle. You want, like I say, you want these to move really freely. So make sure they're really nice and burnished and free moving, because this is going to be the mechanism. So this is what I call being in the closed position. This is what the card is like when it's in the closed position. That's this one. And then this is what I call the open position. And that is if we pulled the tab right to the end, that is the open position. So with it in the closed position, there's a couple of things we need to do. Getting a light pencil, got one in my little pen pot here. Right, so using the pencil with it in the closed position, you just want to do a very light pencil mark, and then put it in the open position and do another very light pencil mark. So now when I open it up, oh, I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. You can see one pencil mark here and one pencil mark here. So these are our panels that we're going to stamp our sentiments on. Don't know how I got that ink in my fingers. And we want to put a little slit in here. So my grid paper is actually, every 2 of these is 1 centimeter. So this is 6 centimeters, so halfway is going to be 3. So 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. And I want to come in a little bit, and I'm just going to mark it. That's just going to help me locate the right place to line up my punch. So I'm basically lining it up so I can see the little dot, centering the dot, and then just punching that out. You don't want to feed it in too far, because all you want is the slit. You don't want to be cutting any of this into your panel. So you just want the little slit bit. That's where we're going to put our ribbon. So we want to stamp our sentiments. Let's pop that there for a minute. Okay, so our first sentiment, this first panel here next to the slit, this is the sentiment that you see all the time on the card. It's visible all the time, this one. And then when you open it, this is the one that's only visible when it's fully open. So in here, I stamped Make a Wish, and that's also in the Puffin stamp set. And I stamped it in the Bermuda Bay. Just get myself a... yeah, that'll fit. And the Bermuda Bay ink pad. Yep, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to, I can open it up because I've put the pencil mark there so I can see. And if you want to, you can use the grid paper too to help you gauge it. And because I've got the slit there and it's quite wide, I'm going to stamp it so that it's above the slit, so that the slit's not in the way. Now this particular card I made for a boy who's turning 4. So the stamp that's in the set with the candles has only got 3 candles and I wanted 4 candles. So what I did is I stamped the candles in the Memento Tuxedo Black. Just gonna close that up so I don't make a mess anywhere. And then I'm just going to ink up my candles. And stamp them on the card. Then I need to clean this off, and I want to make sure it's dry as well because I don't want there to be any chance of any image. So I just want to make sure that it's really clean and not marking the paper. And then this time I'm just going to ink up the one candle, just like that. And then just stamp that there. So now I have 4 candles. And then while I've got this strip open, I'm going to stamp the second sentiment, which is just the happy birthday one. Will this fit on here? No, I need a slightly longer one. Okay, so a bit of my hair on there. Okay, so just ink that up. I'm going to use the Evening Evergreen. I quite like using colours in the sentiments. It makes them a little less harsh than using black. So we've inked that up in the Evening Evergreen. This is quite dark. It almost looks black anyway. And I've centered this and just stamped it down. I've got pretty close to the pencil mark, but you'll see, hopefully you can see, I'm just this side of the pencil mark. And so when the card is closed, you won't see the happy birthday sentiment. That will be revealed when they open it. Just clean off that stamp. So I'm just going to quickly colour the candles in. I used a variation of my stamping blends. I really like, for the flame, I like the Mango Melody because I think it's a really nice sort of like an orangey yellow, quite a nice flame colour. So just like before, I use both the light and the dark. I colour it all in the light. And then using the dark, I just do where the wick is, where it would be a bit darker. And then the actual candles, I've done one in pumpkin pie. And what I did with the candles is I did like all over in the light and then just one of the stripes in the dark. And the other one that I stamped like that, I did in the Poppy Parade. So coloured it all in the light And then in the dark, I did the one that's just a single colour, all in the granny apple green in the dark. And then the last one, I did all in the pale. This is the balmy blue. And then use the dark balmy blue just to colour the one side. So they all have a various amount of shading going on. Let's close up the ink pad. Now you just want a soft eraser to rub out your pencil lines. Just get these out of the way. I always like to rub it on my scratch paper first and make sure it's not got anything grubby on it that is going to transfer onto my white cardstock. And just really gently, just rub those pencil marks off. With the ribbon, I always cut a little bit more than I need. Pop it through the slit. And I just used a stapler, which I've got here. And I didn't actually staple it to the white. I stapled it just on itself. You absolutely could staple it to the white if you wanted. But I'm just stapling it to the ribbon. And that's just going to hold it on there. We will trim that shorter, but I'll do that a little bit later when I stick it onto the card. So we're almost ready with this mechanism now. We're now going to take our holding panel. Now this, we're going to take it up to our first line here, where the edge is of our square here. And then we're just using our fingers, we're just going to gently wrap it around the mechanism. Now we don't want to do this too tight. We don't want it to be really tight because we want it to freely flow through here. So we want it, yeah, you don't want to be doing it really tight. So once you've folded it like that, we're just going to pop glue on this inside bit, not on the flaps, just on this inside. And using my fine tip glue, this is another reason why I like the fine tip, just so it doesn't let too much glue out, because the thing you don't want to happen is for the glue to ooze out and end up getting onto your white mechanism, because that will stop it from moving freely. So we just put a fine layer of glue on that strip, and then we're going to put that strip back on here. Right up to the top. And so that it will so basically now when we're looking at this, when we close it, that is how we folded it over. And just give this time to dry really good. And then basically if you hold on to just the coloured strip, not the white paper, you'll see how that's going to flow through your card. Just going to fold that one a bit. That one doesn't want to fold quite so nice. So then holding on to that strip, you can see how your mechanism's going to work. So now we want to put on our actual panels that we created earlier. Starting with the one that's going to be the last panel, we're going to put just a fine strip of glue up to the first score line. I'm going to show you how much glue you need. It's really not much. So you'll see I've just done a fine line of glue right next to the first score line. And then we're going to match that up, and you'll see you want to keep this all straight so it's all in line with one another up to the fold. And then give it a good press. Just give it a few moments just so that it's sure it's really going to stick down. Then taking your one that's going to be second to last, we're going to do exactly the same. We're just going to put a fine layer of glue here up to the score line. You can see the layer of glue I put on there. Then we're going to line up this square. Just make, whoops. Thing with glue is it gives you a little bit of wriggle room, but sometimes you don't want it. Okay, and we're just going to push that down and make sure that's nice and stuck. Then the one that's going to be next. So you're working back to front, you're working from the last square to the top square. And just the same, fine layer of glue. Line it all up. And then the last strip is right on this end score line. Oops. Right, just give that a wee while to dry. So whilst that's drying, I'll do this later off camera. I'm going to stamp those 4 candles again and colour them again, and they're going to get stuck on the inside for the inside of my card, but I'll do that off camera so as not to have you watch me do that. So just using our Stampin' Seal, we want to stick this panel to the front of our card base. Okay, now we're all ready for our panel. So you want to close up the flaps, turn it over, and you want to, again here, make sure you're not putting too much glue because you don't want any of the glue to ooze out and end up on your white strip. So we're going to put glue on both flaps, but it's just a light layer, enough to stick it really solidly down but not to ooze out everywhere, and that's why I like these fine tips. Right, don't want the glue all over me. Okay, so with your card base you're just going to position it. Now with the glue you've got a little bit of time to decide where it's going to go and stick it down, and then you really want to hold it for a little bit. Don't go operating the mechanism until you've given it plenty of time to dry. So I'm just giving it pressure where that holding strip is, where I've put the glue. Right, shall we give it a try then? So here's our Make-A-Wish card. We pull on the end and it's really easy, really nice and free flowing. Make-A-Wish, happy birthday. Now this is a little bit too long. It's going to be a little bit too long for the envelope. So just using my snips, just going to trim this down. It doesn't need to be long at all, this little strip. Just really enough for them to get a hold of. And if you haven't done it too tight and it's nice and free flowing, they can just gently pull on that little bit of ribbon. So there you are. That is my Puffin waterfall card. Hope you enjoy making yours, and this will work with several stamp sets, any stamp sets that's got nice little images, and I think they're really cutesy. So have a good day, and subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon. Bye.